First one's Page.
All right, we are go for lunch.
Good evening and welcome to the July 10th, 2024 meeting of the Henrietta Town Board. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Here.
Councilmember Belanca,
Here.
Councilmember Barley,
Here.
Councilmember Stafford,
Here.
Supervisor Schultz.
Here. We'll begin the meeting with a silent prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I get a motion to approve the preceding minutes?
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I move that we approve the minutes of the June 19th, 2024 town board meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. First up, we have a public hearing for special use permit application number 2024-023, Dave's Hot Chicken, 942 Jefferson Road, to modify the previously approved special use permit applications numbers 1995-161, to have a restaurant with sit-down and takeout meal service, and number 1997-067, to have a drive-through to now also allow outdoor seating. You have a representative, all right.
Hello.
Please introduce yourself and your relationship to the projects.
My name is Brad DeGrazia. I'm one of the owners of Dave's Hot Chicken and the operation team as well.
Do you want to just give us a quick overview of the project?
Pretty simply, we're trying to just add some outdoor seating to the property, and we're not trying to do too much there. We're just trying to put about 4 tables, 16 chairs outside so people can enjoy some great chicken outside.
So one of the things we noted on the plans, it doesn't show any kind of protective, whether it's bollards. Some people, I don't know that you have enough room for, some people will do like a concrete planter, but we'd like something in between the parking lot and the seating area so that cars can't accidentally drive through those
I
tables.
was actually looking at it a couple days ago, and I kind of put in my notes to the town here that we're willing to do whatever.
Yeah,
The bollards, I actually think a 2-prong approach would probably be best. The bollards that would be in all 4 of those spots, because those bollards could also have the handicap signs on those as well.
sure.
And then we'd also be willing to put up a fence if necessary, just, containing those 4. Obviously, we're not trying to do alcohol at the property, so it doesn't need to be completely fenced in. So
Right.
hopefully, that second barrier would provide everything sufficient to make everybody safe.
Yeah, the building department and fire prevention will get into it in detail, but we're going to note on the resolution, the approval resolution, that that's a requirement that those barriers be installed.
Okay.
So, but as far as the actual barrier design of the barriers, you'll work that out with either the, again, engineering, or the building and fire prevention, but.
Sounds great.
And now is Dave's, is this like, is it this the only shop? Is it a
So Dave's is a
Local?
national franchise. It's
National?
actually the #1 franchise in the United States right now. They've got 1,000 stores in development. We did 1 store already in Tonawanda that we operate. That's been absolutely great. And we expect the same thing here pretty much. So we
Yep.
plan on doing between 4 and 5 in the Rochester area and 4 and 5 in Buffalo.
Great.
And the chicken's fantastic.
Which is it,
It's Nashville
fried,
style,
broiled?
Nashville style, so it's all fried. And
Gotcha.
it's got 7 different spice flavors that you can choose that are crazy good.
Great.
I'm sold.
Other questions?
I was just concerned that there was gonna be enough room between that sidewalk was looked kind of small. It looked like there was only 4 feet.
Right.
And just how
So-
they,
Between the window and the sidewalk
Mhm.
is where we would put the tables.
It's not, and the rendering they gave us, it's not quite an accurate representation of what's actually out front. It goes parking lot, sidewalk, and then there's an area. Or vice versa, I forget which ones, right? Does it go,
Right. I updated the site plan for you guys today. I
Yeah.
apologize for the delay on it. I didn't realize that the highlighted part was the sidewalk. So
Oh.
right?
I could see the concern there. So
Yeah.
definitely not encroaching on the sidewalk at all.
well, I meant the walk in front of the
Yeah,
walk in
that's what
front
we-
of the
That's the
restaurant.
sidewalk. So
Yeah,
that's
the
there,
sidewalk.
and so
there.
there's about 4 feet between there and the building.
Okay.
So we're just looking to put 4 tables.
Okay. Yep, just the same concern Steve has about, safety. So let the other department take care of it.
So, how many employees will you have there, you think?
We will start with approximately 150.
150?
Yes.
What are your hours of operation?
We operate from 10:30 AM to 11 PM during the week and then to midnight on the weekend.
Okay, and no alcohol, you said,
No.
right?
Why so many employees? Just out of curiosity.
It's based on how busy we've been.
Right.
That's the majority of it. And the current workforce these days, you lose quite a few of them right away.
Right,
We're currently operating with 65 to 70 right now at our location. So.
and are those mostly part-time jobs?
Part-time, and you probably have 20 full-time in there, people
Wow.
that can commit to us.
Okay,
Is that the whole, I didn't see the new rendering. Is that the whole building?
No.
No,
Okay.
just the first 3 window,
The
first.
former
middle
Boston
window bays.
Market.
The full, formal, yeah, we were talking about that the other day.
We'll have
Okay.
a door on each side, an entrance and entrance gonna be over here, and on the left is gonna be like an emergency exit type, for future drive-through use also, that if we ever need to get outside.
right.
You have a drive-through at the Buffalo location?
We do not have one there,
Okay,
and we do not plan on opening this one for probably 6 to 8 months after we open, because we don't want to congest the parking lot or anything like that.
okay. I have no other questions.
I'm good.
Is there opportunities to sit down inside as well?
Oh, yes, for
Okay.
sure, approximately 75 seats.
Yeah. Yeah, the seating was my only.
Right, yeah. I don't have any, sounds like we're all set. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to raise a question? Could you just move over to the table so he can, in case you have to answer something?
I'm just curious, how much is the smallest meal you sell with the side? Is it sides? I'm just curious. 'Cause I've never seen your chain before.
Be sure you're near the mic, because we didn't.
You can get a single tender for, I believe it's $5.99, which is the size of a full chicken sandwich pretty much, and then, and fries, I believe the combo is $9.99.
Oh, is this boneless? Is this all boneless? Or I'm just curious, or is it like Kentucky
It's all
Fried?
boneless.
Oh, it's all
Yes,
boneless, so.
They are tenders. They're really large size tenders, and then they're all come in, obviously fresh, and then we do all the preparation. And
I see. Okay. All right. That's what I want to know. Thanks.
you're welcome.
Anyone else? On hearing and seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing for special use permit application number 2024-023 Dave's Hot Chicken. Nope, well, you're not done yet, but
Yep, Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 14-227, 2024 to approve special use permit application number 2024-023 for restaurant use at the western portion of the building at 942 Jefferson Road.
Second.
so there were multiple special use permits for this building before. It was 2 restaurants. They had 2 drive-throughs. What we're doing is this new permit, special use permit, is going to cover the western portion. We'll leave the other ones for the eastern portion until they come in and to do whatever they want to do. But this way it covers, your sit down, takeout and drive-through, as well as the outdoor seating. So And then, as I mentioned, the only condition we put on that is that you put some protective barrier. I have to the satisfaction of the Director of Engineering and Planning. But like I said, I guarantee you the fire marshal and building inspector will weigh in on it as well, because they look for the safety of the public, so. All right, any other questions? And I'll note that you can send an email to supervisor@henrietta.org. I can hook you up with the Chamber of Commerce in order to do like a ribbon cutting, something like that. So, okay,
Did you say when you were opening? When you,
Middle September.
middle of September, okay.
middle September is was the answer for the minutes. Okay, hearing seeing no further comments, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Congratulations.
Best of luck.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you. That concludes this public hearings. Can I get my first resolution?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, I have resolution number 14-213/224. Whereas the Bliss family of artists has contributed artwork to the town of Henrietta and the greater Rochester community at large throughout the years, including artwork at the Tinker Homestead, the Henrietta Public Library, and the Mount Hope Cemetery. And whereas Rosalind Bliss was a master gardener and member of the Henrietta Garden Club for years, including president of the club in 1960, as well as an accomplished artist. And whereas Jack Bliss was a lifelong artist with paintings in prominent locations throughout Henrietta and the greater community, and together with Rosalind Bliss, raised their family in Henrietta on Colony Lane, including son Harry Bliss, who was also an artist and well-known cartoonist, contributing artwork to New Yorker magazine. And whereas sadly, the Bliss family lost both Jack and Rosalind Bliss this past year, and in their memory, the Bliss family has offered to donate artwork to the family, from the family to the town for display at the town hall, the senior center, the Henrietta Public Library, and at other public facilities in Henrietta. Therefore, be it resolved that the town of Henrietta thanks the entire Bliss family for their generous donation and wishes them a heartfelt appreciation and condolences for their recent loss.
Second. So, we wanted to, I reached out to all the directors as far as, because they're donating about 8 to 10 pieces. They're not large pieces, but we were then talking about where they should go. We wanted to make sure 1 or 2 of them was out here in the lobby, since she was a member of the gardening club, and they're the ones who do the Henrietta Gardening Club does the care of the plants in the lobby. But then there was also interest from the senior center and from the library. So we were planning to have some there as well. So again, our condolences go out to the family for their loss. And we appreciate their offer. In this case, if I remember correctly, these particular works were all by Jack. Even though there's multiple artists in the family. So any other questions, comments?
Gonna put a little plaque or anything, acknowledge
Yeah,
on
we'll
each
probably
one?
do something
Okay,
like
thank you.
that. Yep.
Very generous of the family to donate
Yes.
in their memory.
I'm just making a note on the plaque. So, okay, hearing and seeing no further comments, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, I have resolution 14-214, 2024 to approve and or ratify the following agreements.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution 14-215, 2024 to authorize bills payable and any associated contracts or agreements for June 25th, 2024 through July 10, 2024.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I have resolution 14-216, 2024 to call for a public hearing on a local law to update the town code to include other non-medical cannabis businesses under the zoning laws.
Seconded.
So, when OCM, the Office of Cannabis Management, first put out the I can't call it details because they didn't really have any, but we're first talking about the changes in the laws and what we had to zone. They specifically covered adult use cannabis dispensaries and the variation of that is includes on-site consumption. The town opted out of on-site consumption. We felt it was dangerous to have people getting high at the location and then potentially going home, especially since most people probably don't know their tolerances to the newer cannabis, as well as there isn't currently the equivalent of a breathalyzer or blood alcohol content test. So we just thought it wasn't safe to do that. And we put the stuff in our zoning laws. Well, since then, they've come out with at least 3 other types of licenses for non-medical businesses. And that's not currently addressed in our zoning laws because they're not expressly prohibited. In theory, somebody could say, well, I want to apply for a cannabis distributor license under the other commercial business clause. And so we wanted to protect against that. So we specifically address those, the ones that are already there, but I also created basically a category for any other non-medical business. So it's basically covers all the ones that are currently listed, plus any that they come out with in the future. We exclude medical because medical is handled completely separate from the recreational. But that way, the idea is that all of our zones, save the ILCD, which is the industrial light commercial district, also typically or colloquially referred to as the adult use districts. They all will ban the use of any non-medical cannabis use, except where expressly allowed. And so that way, no one can come in under those other uses clause, and they can only put the stuff in where the things are included. Right now, we only allow those other uses specifically in the ILCD, with the exception of this law proposes that what's called a micro business or tier 1 cultivator could also go in the same locations where the adult use cannabis retail dispensaries can go. But in that we put this also adds a section on the in the special use permit consideration and talks about the greater level of odor control. The tier 1 and the micro business have limits on the amount of cannabis they can grow. It also requires that the micro business requires that they sell it there or through one of the adult use cannabis dispensaries. So it's very nailed down, whereas the other 3 uses, the tier 2, 3, or 4 cultivators, the processors, or the I forgot what the third one is. Oh, distributor. Those are kind of commercial, larger, you can almost say wholesale distributor type arrangements. Those right now are only in the ILCD. If we ever get someone interested in that and we decide, you know what, it makes sense to allow them on Commerce Drive, I figure we can add that later. But right now, I just wanted to get something in to protect us against somebody coming in and asking for one in an area where we otherwise wouldn't want it to be. So this gives us time to figure that out. We've also talked about the possibility, if you've ever been on Commerce Drive, it's call it a heavier industry, not necessarily the type of industry there, but it has a much more industrial look than some of our other industrial districts. And we've had a number of discussions over the years does it make sense to create, right now, we only have an industrial district. Should we make an I-1 and an I-2, where maybe I-1 is all the current ones and that Commerce Drive section becomes the I-2. But again, didn't want to deal with that now. That's a much broader discussion. So for right now, these other uses are only in the ILCD. So I want to give the background on why we're doing this. Like I said, a lot of it is to protect against the unintended consequences, because when OCM was first talking about the laws, these other licenses were never mentioned.
Right.
So, good. Any other questions, comments? Obviously, this is just calling for the public hearing, but
I'm glad that you addressed other things, because I know that when we first voted on it, it was just for adult use cannabis, dispensaries, and also lounges, or, where they can use them. We voted against lounges,
Yeah.
as you just said. So it's nice to have that protection that we can address other things that come in. Thanks.
the other thing I will note is because it is agricultural business, there is currently a cultivator operating in Henrietta in the agricultural market, because that's outside the zoning laws. However, I will note that when we opted out of the consumption sites, that's not just zoning laws, that's cannabis law. So even though the agricultural market is outside our zoning laws, they still can't have an on-site consumption, because that's covered by cannabis law, which
That's
is
good to
state
know,
law.
too.
So,
Yeah.
But like I said, we currently do have a cultivator operating in the agricultural market, because for agricultural uses, they don't need to get a special use permit in the agricultural market. I believe it's only a tier 1, but I'm not positive on that. Okay, any other questions, comments?
Yeah, Nicholas Harris, 62 Equine Lane. When you say on-site consumption, do you mean they can't smoke it in the shop? Is that what you're talking about?
Correct.
Okay, that's, I'm clarifying.
Can't smoke, edible, consume, anything. Takeout only. Okay, hearing and see no further comments, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 14-217, 2024, to approve a pilot for Indus Hospitality Group as long as they acquire and restore or demolish one of the problem hotel properties in Henrietta.
Second.
So we were approached by the Indus Hospitality Group about a pilot. There is going to be a public hearing through Comida in the not too distant future. We oppose it. In talking with them, they came in and said, well, is there any way you would approve it? And we said, well, sure. If, we have a number of problem hotels where there are probably the majority of our Narcan or other drug-related calls, 911 calls, end up in one of those hotels. And so, whereas we don't think a pilot, which is payment in lieu of taxes, makes sense for a hotel, because again, the other thing that happens if we approve this one, every hotel from here on out will want a pilot, and we'd have a hard time saying, no, why is it different? But in terms of, if they're willing to acquire one of those problem hotels and restore it, or demolish it so that the problem is gone. Now, I'd prefer if they demolished it and built a new one in its place. And I'll tell you, as a business, they're not gonna just buy it and level it because they're gonna wanna
Someone.
make money off their investment. But the reason we mentioned demolish is because that would be, or I basically explained to them, the pilot wouldn't kick in until that happens. With that said, I don't know that they're going to be able to acquire one. They have an exclusive license for one of the hotel chains that is the name brand of one of the problem hotels, but when they went to then acquire the hotel itself, those individuals said they didn't want to sell. So I presume that hotel is going to be rebranded. So as of right now, they have not been able to acquire one of the problem hotels. We added a clause that makes it crystal clear that if they are unable or unwilling, then we oppose this. And what's great about the current incarnation of Comida as opposed to prior ones, if we're opposed to it, they will not approve it. The school district is also not a fan of pilots because it actually hurts them from a budgetary standpoint. The formulas for school budgets and the tax cap are really strange in that any growth in pilots reduces the amount under that formula. It's really strange. And they don't get credit for the growth in the town when it later comes off pilot, which makes no sense. At some point, so I get it. Okay, it's on a pilot, it's on roll 8. You don't want to count it yet. But when it goes from roll 8 to roll 1, the town's total assessed value has gone up. So I don't understand why it doesn't count, but it doesn't. There's a lot of stuff I don't understand why the state does things like that. But so anyway, that's where we sit. But we just wanted to pass this in case they are able to acquire something between now and their hearing. But if they haven't, then we'll be opposing it. Any questions, comments on that?
On this, I'm sorry, on these pilot, how long does this usually last? Is that a 20 or 30? Is it 20 years?
No,
30?
10.
10, okay. 10
So it's basically 90% off of any the improvements to the lot. So in this case, they're talking about an empty lot, so it would essentially be everything but the land value. So they'd get 90% off in year 1, then 80, then 70, and it just drops down like that. So
And then, so that answers the savings part then.
and they are required to put on some number of jobs, but as we've talked about before, these aren't like high-end manufacturing or tech jobs. It's when they look at in the hospitality district, that's typically not been something that you get jobs plus pilots for. Which again, it just seems that everybody wants a pilot these days. And if it were a manufacturing base, that'd be one thing, bringing a bunch of jobs, but we certainly don't seem to have a shortage of hotels. They say there is a need for them. Great. Okay. If there's such a need for them, then why do you need the tax break?
Right.
I will note that one of the things, when they do these pilots, they also often give a tax break for, they don't have to pay sales tax on construction material. The way I look at it, that's totally up to Comida. Yes, we get some revenue from sales tax, but it goes through the Marin Ryan distribution. Ultimately, the county takes the biggest hit on that. To me, that's a county decision. What we're specifically talking about from the pilot is in lieu of property taxes. So if they're not able to do this and Comida still wants to give them the tax break on the sales tax for construction materials, that's up to the county. I don't feel it's our right to block that. But like I said, I certainly would not want to see this come off the tax rolls, with the exception if they're going to take care of one of our problem hotels.
And this is just the pilot for the one hotel. If they bought another one and fixed it up, they wouldn't get reduced. Would they get reduced on that too?
Correct. Well, they'd have to apply
Okay.
again, yeah.
Okay. And then just the other,
When I was talking to them, they've talked about that ultimately they'd love to own three of them in town. So if they want to get them on the second one and want to acquire another problem hotel, that'd be great, but we'll see what happens.
be great. You know, I think it's a great idea trying to get rid of the problem hotels.
Right.
I'm just concerned that what happens if they become a problem hotel
Right,
too,
yeah.
you know, so that they keep their, you know, they keep their pilot and we're kind of,
And looking at their portfolio, well, they wouldn't, I mean, well, that's one of the things, we could write that into the pilot, so the pilot would end if they somehow became a.
Okay.
But typically that doesn't happen in the first 10 years.
Right.
It's usually the older
the older
hotels.
hotels, yep.
They get sold a couple times. They end up in the hands of a buyer who doesn't want to invest anything in them and they're trying to squeeze all the last profit out of it, so. But in looking at their other properties, I'm not that concerned with these guys that they would end up there, but again, we could certainly put that in the pilot, so. Any other questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Hi,
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 14-218/224 to commit to pursuing a climate smart community grant with the resource recycling systems for the town's compost facility.
Second. So, Resource Recycling Systems, or RRS, they've been involved in helping us with some of this, but in the compost, specifically looking at it from as we've talked about before, we want to use this compost as a proof of concept to show that, a larger number of smaller compost sites distributed throughout the area makes more sense than, for instance, one giant compost site where, you know, because it means shorter runs from a delivery standpoint. And the more you accumulate, the more likely you're going to have some of the issues with improper decomposition that results in the release of more greenhouse gases and odor. So we were talking about with the folks from RIT Institute of Sustainability, as well as RRS, about how can we do a study on this? And there was a Climate Smart Community grant that could potentially fund that. We don't have, or, you know, we certainly didn't have anything in the budget to do a grant, bring in a grant writer. And so we then talked with RRS whether they'd be willing to do it on the IFCOM. And what I mean by that is they are very well suited as a professional service to do that data gathering, analysis, and public outreach required for that study. And so what we're committing to is we're going to pursue this opportunity with them. And then if they get it, they're going to do it's roughly half of the grant will be to do that study. The other half will pay for, one of the other things we've been working on is a donation from RIT. And Pat, do you remember the name of the company who makes the biochar furnace? I can never remember their name, but they make this biochar furnace, which basically essentially oven roasts some of the material coming in and results in better compost, better odor control, fewer greenhouse gases released, as well as shortening the aging time. And so the thing that gets into what there hasn't been done is there've been some tests in a lab, but never in real everyday use, as far as the different mixes, how much of the biochar, how much of the mushroom substrate, how much of the wood chips and the organic compost material, what are the best formulas for doing that? So the idea is, this grant, the other half that's not the study, will pay to hook that biochar, to bring the biochar system over to here, hook it into the new facility, as well as the other stuff necessary to conduct multiple tests in parallel. And so, so like I said, about half of it is for physical materials and supplies, and the other half is for the study. That's rough. I haven't, they're working on it right now because it's part of the consolidated funding application, which is the end of this month. But like I said, when we did the initial budget, it was roughly half and half. We've since come in with some better estimates. It should still be around half and half. I don't know exactly where it's going to end up, but that's what we're looking at. As far as the town contributions, everything we're going to contribute is in kind. So we've got some grading work to do. We'd have some building construction. The building itself will be built under separate funding that we're getting from CEC. But we would we'd essentially extend the roof to cover the biochar on one side and to cover washout basins on the other. So this grant would cover the extension of those two, as well as, like I said, some of the other infrastructure with regards to the test site. So that's what we're looking at. Any questions, comments?
Is the company name Earthly Biochar by any?
I honestly don't remember.
Okay.
But they had actually previously donated it to RIT,
Okay.
and RIT has done a bunch of research, and they really would love to see this in a working environment instead of just in a lab. And
Great.
RIT was in full support of that as well. And so RIT and the company that makes the biochar furnace, they are going to donate it to the town
That's great.
as part of this. So, and that also counts as in-kind contribution, which is great. So, Pat, did you want to add something to this?
I'm Pat Wardinger from 33 Winderland Drive, Henrietta, and I'm Chair of the Sustainability Committee. And I want to thank this town board for being so supportive and committed to doing composting. We can take our leaf and yard waste and combine it with the food scraps from this town and generate a useful product. And that eliminates the leaf and yard waste from being transported to landfills. So thank you very much for doing this.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, Pat.
And as you know, one of the other things we've talked about before, and it's not tied to this grant, this is happening anyways, but when the compost folks are up and running, it will allow us to have our leaf and brush drop off open essentially year round. Whereas today, up to this point, we do it 4 or 5 weekends in the spring and 4 or 5 weekends in the fall is it. And then the other thing that will happen too, depending on the quantity, we'll also be able to take in commercial, basically the from the tree and landscaping businesses. We've typically not taken that because we never had anything to do with these other than to chip them and turn them into more wood chips than we could possibly use. Well, now here's a use to consume them. So they've already started taking in some of the commercial stuff as well, which one of the things that some of those folks do improperly is they burn it today. And that's problematic for neighbors, especially. It's problematic for our atmosphere, and especially when there is unfortunately, some of them still do it when there's a burn notice on. So, we've had some folks who've said when we've gone to these folks, well, I've got all, it's not always even just the commercial, like they brought down a tree, a bunch of trees, or the bunch of ash trees dead. And how am I going to get rid of this? Well, now we'll have a place where they'll be able to take it and that'll be consumed. So, a lot of potential good coming out of this, so. And the nice thing is we've been able to do it largely without taxpayer dollars.
That's great. So when you mentioned the in-kind donation, that's important for the grant, right? That's one of the
Correct.
stipulations.
Yeah, you have to do, when you get a grant, you have to, I think this is a 50-50 match. So for every $1 of grant, you have to have $1 of in-kind, or
Right.
excuse me, $1 of matching. That can be us committing dollars or
Mhm.
us committing, in this case, like I said, we're committing services, although not all of the in-kind is coming from us. Some of it's coming from, you know, again, the donation of biochar as well as other stuff. But
That's great.
it says in the, I don't remember what the, yeah, so we're looking at from the town, it's between 40 and 60,000 of in-kind contribution. The total amount, I think, is going to be north of 120.
Okay.
So we're not even contributing half of the in-kind. Any other questions?
Mr. Hirsch again, 62 Wick Lane. How does this fall in line with Impact Earth that is supposed to be running a compost site? I mean, this is obviously, I'm just curious because I was under the impression after that whole meeting with, with what went on, that they were the ones that were going to be doing most of the composting and then doing it locally so it doesn't have to be transported to landfills. And now the town is doing something with a char furnace. I'm a little bit,
No, they are still doing the composting.
okay,
We're pursuing a grant to study the best ways, the best formulas for those composts. So again, that this can be replicated in other areas. And some of our surrounding towns have been paying close attention to what's going on. They've been following the stuff, but the folks who will be doing the composting is Impact Earth, and they're involved in this. In fact, some of that
they are.
in-kind contribution is their labor, because they're going to be the ones who are doing the mixing and that type of stuff. So
But they're not actually disposing of it. In other words, it has to be disposed, or is this an alternative method that's being studied about a better way to dispose of it? Is that it?
it doesn't dispose of it. I'm taking in this material that otherwise would go to the landfill,
Right.
mixing it to make compost that can then go back
Oh,
to
I see.
our residents to put in their garden. They've committed to giving a bunch for free to the community gardens. They can also turn around and sell it as well.
And that's what the char furnace does. It makes it so that you can use it for that purpose.
So again, it reduces the amount of odor and
Right.
greenhouse gases, and it shortens the time. So for instance, if today you have to age compost 3 months, if it shortens it to 1.5 months with the same throughput, I can produce twice as much
I
compost.
understand, got it.
on
It's just
the
a
same
more
footprint.
efficient way of
It's a more
producing it
efficient-
so it can be used.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
You mentioned other towns paying attention. I talked to somebody and I think I'm pretty sure she was from Penfield. She was real impressed when she came to the tour, and I guess there was a tour up on Middle Road. And yes, they are paying attention.
All right. Any other comments, questions? Okay, hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, I have resolution 14-219, 2024 to authorize Kenyon Pipeline Inspection LLC to repair the sanitary sewer pipe on River Meadow Drive, Phase 1.
Second.
So River Meadow Drive is one of the oldest neighborhoods in town, and some of their infrastructure has essentially gone past its expected lifespan. What this allows us to do is cost effectively, essentially, you almost end up with almost new pipe without the massive cost of digging it up and reinstalling and reconnecting everything. Basically, it puts this liner through the middle, heats it up, melts it, fuses it, and then they come back through and cut open the laterals. So it's a really cost-effective approach. And we were able to get a $65,000 grant from the Monroe County Community Development Block Grant. And so then we're covering the rest of the cost. which is up to 98,000. So, it, like I said, will greatly improve the sewer. They have had some problems as some of those sewers, pipelines, are starting to deteriorate. They have had some backup issues or, more, not as in plugged, but just the throughput isn't at the rate it should be. So, hopefully this will help address that. I mentioned phase one and phase two. It's just, there's more than we can do in 1 year. So we'll probably be doing the same thing next year as well. Any other questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution 14-220, 2024 to authorize Kenyon Pipeline Inspection LLC to repair the sanitary sewer pipes in the Suburban Heights subdivision, phase one.
Second.
So we've been making concerted efforts to televise all of our infrastructure. And in doing that, in what's probably some of the second oldest neighborhoods in town, Suburban Heights, this is near, just lost the name.
Quinn Road and
Yeah,
Hollybrook.
Hollybrook, thank you. That's the word I was looking for. So this is the area in and around Hollybrook. We found that some of those are in serious need of repair. Our plan was to put this together to do the budget for next year. But there's a few of the sections that are in such rough shape, we didn't want to wait a year. Because if you let it collapse or crush, it's a much, much more expensive process. And it's also much more problematic for the residents who live there because it could create backflow into their house. It also means that it's down for a longer amount of time. So we went through and identified the most problematic areas, and we're doing that this year. The total cost puts us a bit over our normal budget. So we will be using some of the every year we have a certain amount of money for in the event that we have a failure or other emergency repairs we have to make. So we're going to be using about $20,000 of that emergency repair money because again, I'd rather be ahead of it and not have to react, come
exactly.
Fall or winter and where it collapses. So the rest of the repairs that will be the parts that aren't so imminent, those will be in subsequent years. But that's what we're looking at here. Any other questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I have resolution 14-221, 2024 to reappoint Sybil Montero as a student member and also to appoint Judith Harrell as a student member of the Youth Development Advisory Committee.
Seconded.
Any discussions? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 14-222, 2024 to appoint JP Morgan Chase Bank or authorized representatives as deputy receiver of taxes for school tax collection.
Second.
So they're not actually officers of the town, but they're considered a deputy tax collector because some of the payments can go straight to them, get credited to our account. So if that's not quite correct, Becky, feel free to correct me, but that's my understanding of it. Any further comment?
Or question? Mr. Hirsch, again, 62 Equine Lane. Now, does this basically mean that for any SCAR petition that needs to be filed, since you must serve the tax superintendent as well as the deputy receiver of school taxes as well, which right now is Ms. Wisner, if they're going to be collecting school taxes, if this is going to get approved like soon or whatever, would they also have to be a party that has to be served?
No. Ms. Wisner is not the deputy. She is the receiver.
Yes, I
of
know she's
taxes
the
and school
receiver, but
taxes. So, no, they would not need to be served.
Okay.
They wouldn't know what to do with it if they received it. Any other questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 14-223/2024. Whereas Lauren M. Falvo and Julie and James Amidon have donated $150 to the Henrietta Public Library in memory of Marcia Tryon. And whereas checks in the total amount of $150 were received by the library director, therefore be it resolved that the Henrietta Town Board acknowledges this donation and thanks Lauren M. Falvo and Julie and James Amidon for their generosity.
Second. I believe they do this every year, if I remember what, or most years. Yeah, Adrian, I don't know if you're on and listening, if you could comment on that. Or if anybody else who is aware, but either way, we're very appreciative of the donation and thank them for.
Adrian is not on, but I'm just gonna chime in because I was looking up Marcia's obituary today, and was really amazing. She was the secretary for the I'm gonna say this wrong, the Friends and Family, the board for the Friends and Foundation of the library. And she passed away, and this is in memory of her, so they're gonna put a painting on the second floor of the library in memory of her. And you should read her obituary. She's a pretty remarkable woman.
Appreciate that. Thank you. It might be that they've talked about doing it going forward. I don't remember. I thought she said something about that. Or maybe these individuals have done other donations. But that's neat.
Yeah, it is.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you for that, Becky. Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, I have resolution 14-224, 2024. Whereas the Summit Federal Credit Union has donated $250 to the Henrietta Public Library for a summer event. And whereas a check in the amount of $250 was received by the library director, therefore it be resolved that the Henrietta Town Board acknowledges this donation and thanks the Summit Federal Credit Union for their generosity.
Second.
Thought I had written down, but I don't seem to see it. What, because I had asked at the workshop what it was for, but unfortunately I didn't write it down.
Right.
Oh, I think it was it was for music. They do yeah, at one of the library events.
A summer sing-along series on Thursday mornings.
There we go. Thank you. Great to have the all-powerful Oz in the background.
Yes. Behind the screen and behind those curtains.
Any further questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution 14-225, 2024. Whereas Steve and Vicky Schultz have donated a washing machine to assist the Henrietta Dog control officer with keeping bedding clean while the dogs are in the kennel. And whereas the machine was received by the dog control officer, therefore be it resolved that the Henrietta Town Board acknowledges this donation and thanks Steve and Vicky Schultz for their generosity.
Second.
I'll just note when I vote aye, I'm thanking my wife, not me.
I'm sure the dogs are very appreciative of their bedding's clean.
Yeah. It was very problematic because at the cleaners, the dog control officer has to stay there while the stuff's in the washer, and it was just really problematic. So we put it right in the new sewer garage. They apparently said it's loud. Oh, well, you guys can live with it.
Right.
It's not as loud as the Vector truck, I guarantee you that. So,
Well, thanks for the donation.
yep. Any further comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I have resolution 14-226, 2024, to hire personnel, make the attached changes, and authorize the attendance incentive pay.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. That concludes our resolutions. Do we have any committee or miscellaneous reports from the board?
I attended the Rush Henrietta School Board regular board meeting. And as I did that, I was thinking, have we had any update on Educators Grove, or who's responsible for that? Is it their
It's that new Friends, they do. In fact, Howard Russell, who is the president of the Friends of the Henrietta Parks and Recreation, has reached out to me because he has some exciting news. I just haven't had an open slot to fit him in on my calendar, but I expect that to be later this week or early next week. So
Thank
there
you.
is some news. I just don't know what it is yet.
Okay,
I do know our crews are scheduled later this year to start working on the path.
okay. I also attended last night the CHS Board of Directors, our local ambulance service. They're an incredible organization. They're sort of leading the way in Monroe County for ambulance services. Their new, as you can see, their new garage is going up. I think they're purchasing 2 used ambulances, but they won't have to park them outdoors anymore, where they can keep them in a secure location. And also want to remind everybody that Friday is our first community concert and farmers market. So that's
Great.
it. Thanks.
I had the opportunity last week to attend the library board meeting. We got a chance to see the 2025 draft budget proposal. It is going to ask for a modest increase, reflecting some maintenance cost inflation, especially as it affects paper products. Go figure that a library would be affected by an increase in paper products, but also the need for an increase in staffing on a year-over-year basis. To this point, this year, the door count is up 12.5% from last year. That's approximately 2,000 additional visits per month, and event attendance is up 33.1% on a comparable basis from last year. I think it really speaks volumes to the tremendous opportunities for the community that are available. Too numerous to want to mention here, but obviously hpl.org. Take a look at what they've got offering.
Like Rob?
I'd just like to thank Tinker, our nature center, and the DES session committee, and how they went through all the things that Tinker may or may not need over at Tinker Park, and just give some credit to their team and inviting me over to be a part of it. It was very interesting. I learned a lot. So I want to thank Tim Pratt, our program director, Emily. I'd like to thank Tina Thompson, our town historian, Diane Selleck, Dave Oliver, and Edie Jones. Thanks for your volunteerism. That's all I have.
I don't have anything on a committee report, but I do want to report, the 4th of July event. Really want to thank everybody in the Park and Recs department that did a great job that was involved in that. Can tell you that it seemed like all the residents had a great time. So it's a very good job.
Yeah, and that's, huge effort all across the town. The DPW puts in a ton of work to get all that set up and then also to take it all down.
Right.
What typically suffers from that, there's a few green belts that haven't been mowed at the frequency they should be, just because during this, essentially the week up to and the week after the 4th, it consumes a ton of our time. But yeah, it was a really great event. I like not having that baseball diamond at the top of the hill. I thought the layout for the food trucks was much better. The expanded parking was great for it. It allowed us to do more handicap accessible parking. One of the things someone noted, we'll have to take a look at when we do the band shell through that incentive zoning, where Green Spark's going to build us a new roof for the band shell. And as we do that work, one of the things we'll want to take a look at is potentially adding some handicap accessible parking there, as well as a paved path from the road to the band shell itself. Because today, if you want to get there in a wheelchair, you have to cross grass, as someone pointed out.
Okay,
So,
gotcha.
as you know, our town had a lot of deficiencies with regards to accessibility, and we've been tackling them as we go, including a restroom on the first floor here. We still have a lot to go, because unfortunately that was not something that was paid much attention to when a lot of the facilities in this area was built in years past.
Right.
So, yeah, overall thought it went great. The traffic control was great. The assistance from the fire department, from the sheriff's office, Young Explosives, CHS, and then, the security firms we hire to help us with the crowd control and traffic and all that.
There's some large crowds.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. Good event.
Yep.
Do we ever get an estimate on how many? Is there any way to?
I don't know.
We talked about that for years.
Did you?
If you're talking about on our property, is one number, but then the surrounding area.
Right.
Right.
I still think it's around between 8,000 and 10,000.
Yeah.
Just in the park,
So,
but I don't know. I don't.
yep. No, I have no idea.
It's a lot.
And I can't remember if we've had a meeting. This is our first meeting since the Pride event.
Yes.
Yeah, so that also went extremely well, very well attended. Couldn't ask for a nicer day.
Sure was.
Just really great event. I guess it's also technically our first since Juneteenth, since we
Yeah.
ended early and went straight to Juneteenth. So that was also a good event. It's our first one. I guess we had technically come back after.
Yeah, we came back.
Came back after
Right.
to finish up that meeting, but like I said, a lot of work goes into those events, especially from the Parks and Rec department, as well as the grounds and facilities at the DPW and highway and everybody else.
Right.
We do actually have a move date now for the court. We'll start the move on the 24th. The move will basically be the 24th, 25th, and 26th, with the plan to open on the Monday. We're not going to do a formal opening until the exterior panels are finally in. They are on the ship. If nothing goes wrong, they should be in port next week. But then they have to go through customs. Homeland Security, and I'm not sure what risk these panels might present, but they have to go through that process. So they will not be in place by the time, we open, but there's basically court on the 25th. That will be held at the old court. We're going to leave enough behind to hold that court. And then the next court session is that Monday. That will be held at the new court. If there's any arraignments in between, it'll probably be at the old court. So we've, if you haven't driven the new entrance to Town Hall, it's great. I still have to get out of the habit of cutting to the south. But the loop road out, so basically we've turned the entrance into an actual circle, although it's more of a capsule shape. But it's a one-way flow, works much better for getting folks in and around. It's increased the amount of green space. We'll be working on turning that actually green in the not too distant future. And then sometime in the future, we'll figure out what we want to do with it from a landscaping standpoint. But right now, we just want to get it graded, rock hounded, and seeded. So lot of effort went into that, especially with our highway department. They did phenomenal job. And a whole lot of work happened underground too, because there was all kinds of mess of leftover stuff and telecoms. And my deputy town supervisor, Craig Eckert, will tell you, we spent countless hours trying to trace these things, follow them, tracking down who might own these things, which cables are dark, which ones are not. In the end, we came up with a really great solution. There's a whole bunch that's still down there. But of the active stuff, they're in a vault, and there's only a couple access panels at the parking lot. The ones that are no longer active, we actually filled. We left the vaults in place in case we ever need them in the future. We filled them and paved over the top of them. It looks really great. Can't wait till that's actually open. So that's that status.
I'll just
Other
give a
questions?
quick update on the golf course. It's, the play has been very steady. People are very happy. They're working very hard over there, putting in a new irrigation system. They're putting the sprinkler heads around the greens. They're about halfway done. The goal is to be finished with it and cover up everything by August 1st. Or maybe the first week in August. And they really, the course is really coming along great. And the operation is really smooth.
Yep. And I will note that from May 6th through just basically the start of July, we broke the $60,000 revenue standpoint. At some point later on, we'll be doing a cost analysis as to, where it is from the revenue versus the expenses, and try to come up with that. So
That's great.
but as Rick said, it's going really well. So any other comments? Reports?
For Educators Grove, was there ice cream social or something that happened there recently or planned?
So it wasn't specifically Educators Grove. The Friends of the Henrietta Parks and Recreation had a fundraiser at Abbott's.
Okay, all right.
They also were at the 4th of July. They were operating a dunking booth,
Okay,
and as well as selling soft drinks to do fundraising. So
okay.
Steve, Educators Grove, it looks like somebody has planted some it almost looks like a memorial there. Something. There's a small section. It's probably 4 by 4. I just was wondering if that was a town or somebody.
Not that I'm aware of. Often what happens is somebody might have been killed in a car accident nearby.
So yeah, it's very serious one.
Someone was there.
Yeah, so basically what we've talked about is we're gonna try to find the folks and see if we can work that into the master plan that Sarah created for the park. So
I think I'll go over and look, but I think I may know who.
okay,
who
that'd
did
be
it.
great.
Good.
The man who passed away, his first name was Mark.
Yeah, right up the street from me. Yeah. And so I'll go by and see if there's a plaque or anything and let you know.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah. I've seen him working, like I said, I've seen him working
Yeah.
over there. I just never
Yeah.
stopped.
Very nice family. It was tragic.
Do we have additional discussion items or comments from the public? Yep, as long as it's nothing to do with your lawsuit.
Does not have to do with a lawsuit. But it does have to do, is this on? Okay. It does have to do with just a couple of things that you received as normally with an agenda for this meeting.
I've received nothing, so,
Well, hold it. Can I?
yeah, you say we received,
I
I've
know,
received nothing.
everybody else, Ms. Wiseman will get it tomorrow with an affidavit. I'm sorry, I apologize for that. Usually I'm on time, but today was just one of those days. Mistakes happen. I'm human too. We all make them. I promise you, you'll get yours tomorrow, time stamped. The rest of the board members, they're not time stamped, but there is a sworn statement on the front, so that serves just as well. But there will be a certified copy on file at the clerk's office tomorrow, probably sometime in the late morning. Very quickly on the agenda has to just do with the minutes from the last meeting during the public open comment section where Mr. Mistrella addressed me. Mr. Mistrella also received a copy of this particular segment that's been given to the other board members only because of the fact that he's involved to the extent that he gave advice regarding open public comment. So with regards to that, even though you're permitting me to speak at this point, regarding separate issues that have nothing to do with any lawsuits, notice of claims, anything like that at all, the fact of the matter is that this advice was given, it's on videotape. Once it's on tape, you can't remove it. It is a First Amendment violation, which leads to a 14th Amendment violation. Okay, that has nothing to do with this lawsuit.
You're wrong on that. At the public hearing, there is no public meeting law does not guarantee you the right to speak. It does not. It
But you-
guarantees you the right to hear, not speak.
But if you are going to specifically not let somebody speak with a specific reason that you're giving, and that reason does not conform to the local laws or the state laws or federal laws, then so long as you're giving a reason for that, which was supplied, that you may not do. You may not restrict a person from speaking.
That's not what open meeting law says. It says that the town has the right. We can grant the privilege for people to speak, but we also can set up rules regarding that.
Rules, but you can't just literally stop somebody from speaking because
We actually can. You still have your First Amendment right to keep speaking, but not just on the record here at the meeting as such. That we're not
well,
stopping.
I guess that's where the dispute is because
Okay.
according to construction with other laws, you may not restrict things that are less
Okay,
restricted than the
well-
broader law. But that's just, I'm just simply stating, okay, that I will be responding, okay, to those two particular issues
Right,
in the
and-
appropriate given time. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Just so that people are aware that this is what's coming. No surprises. I've made it very clear, just so that we're clear,
Thank you.
okay?
Okay,
I mean,
thank you.
that's what I wanted to state.
Anything else?
And if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. I would encourage them to do so. There is one other thing that doesn't have to do with this. I was driving down Lehigh Station Road in Henrietta yesterday. Probably somewhere around, I would guess must have been about after, or I'm sorry, it was this morning. It was probably around 6:30. And just before you get to the Nevins Road intersection, before you cross the railroad tracks, going towards East Henrietta Road, there is a quite substantially large pothole that is directly in the middle of the road. And to avoid it, you would literally have to cross a double yellow line, go into the other lane of traffic, which is dangerous. And that needs to be repaired because it is pretty, and I wasn't speeding, I was doing the speed limit
Did you say
35,
Lehigh Station Road?
Lehigh Station Road.
That's a
Just-
state road. We're not allowed to repair it. We will make sure that they probably are aware of it, but we'll follow up to make sure they're aware of it.
I mean, even though it's in Henry, I know we talked about this once before.
We have
I
no
think
jurisdiction to repair state roads.
even though it's in the town.
even though it's in the town.
Okay. Well, if you could let the state know that they need to, the highway for the state has to get over there and they need to really take care of that. Somebody could very seriously break their axle or damage their front end. And I'm not sure.
You can also report it at 1-800-POTHOLE.
Oh, I didn't know there was such a number.
Yep. And, or if you wish to talk to the director of the New York State DOT Region 4, which covers us, you can Google New York State DOT Region 4 contacts. It'll give you the list of who's in charge of the road maintenance, and as well as the director of the whole.
So it's
region.
1-800-POTHOLE?
1-800-POTHOLE is the phone number to report it. That's for any state road, as well as, like the Thruway and 390.
I have a question just regarding that. Does that mean that all of the roads or most of the roads in Henrietta are not considered to be town roads that can be fixed, or is it just certain ones?
Only the state roads. So there are also county roads,
Yeah,
but
I know.
Monroe County does authorize us to repair potholes on county roads. The state does not.
Do you have any idea? I'm just curious. I'm just asking what portion of the roads are in fact Henrietta's permission and what ones are the state's?
Everything but the state. So that would be the expressways,
Right.
Jefferson Road, East Henrietta Road, West Henrietta Road,
Oh, I get it. It looks like it's route number.
anything that has a New York State route
If
number.
it's a New York State route number, you can't fix it.
Correct.
Okay, and I guess Lehigh Station is a route number?
It is from West Henrietta Road east. To the west of that, New York 253 then goes south to Thruway Park and then out through Erie Station
So
Road.
does that covers on the other side of the tracks by right before Nevins then?
Correct.
Oh,
Yeah, everything to the east of West Henrietta Road is state road,
okay,
state
all
route.
right. Just see it if you can, just please report
Yeah,
it.
unfortunately, the state roads are by far the worst condition roads in our town, and we can't do much about it. Other than
Are they really
like-
lax? Are they really lax in repairing these things?
they are budget constraint, they are people constrained. If you look, they're down something like 20 people in their department. That's an issue you'd have to take up
Right,
with,
no, it's,
with Albany, but yeah.
okay.
So, they are finally starting the cycle. It's going to be a 2-year process to repair East Henrietta Road from the Thruway to the 390 overpass.
Do you know when they're gonna start that?
They have with utility relocation, stuff like that. As far as actual paving, I don't think we have a hard date yet. RG&E has to move a bunch of utility poles. There's a whole lot of other work that has to happen, but that is scheduled and it will be done in multiple phases because they're also at one point, they are going to have to remove and replace one of the culverts over one of the branches of Red Creek. So there will be a stretch from I believe the reroute's going to go from Erie Station Road to Lehigh Station Road. There'll be a section of East Henrietta Road that will be closed for.
So in other words, they're gonna have a detour.
There will be a detour.
Yeah,
It'll all be
because they were
posted
gonna-
once it's ready. In theory, I thought that was supposed to happen this year, but I think they pushed it to next year. So
And what is wrong with the culvert? I know what a culvert is. It's a under the ground thing that you see on
Yeah.
the side where the water goes
it's
through.
erosion.
Oh, it's that, okay,
Yeah.
it's just all.
So unfortunately, a lot of them were corrugated metal pipes, which
Yes.
water corrode out. So
Right.
they typically nowadays go to a concrete structure. So
Because they don't rot and they don't rust and they don't
Correct.
iodize.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
okay.
Make a
Any
motion?
other?
No,
What's that?
never, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, any other comments, questions? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Hearing